Welcome back to Create Wealth Through Franchising Podcast and Kim Daily TV. In my studio today, if you're watching YouTube, look at this beautiful face of Sonal Patel from Cary, North Carolina. She is a Woodhouse Spa franchisee, but she tells me there's more to her franchising story than Woodhouse. So, with that introduction, Sonal, welcome to the studio of Kim Daily TV.
Thank you so much, Kim. I'm so happy and excited to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy and excited to be here. And I hope that I say your name correctly.
You did say it correctly.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so let's jump into your story because I hear it begins long before you became a Woodhouse Spa franchisee. So take us back to the beginning when you decided that franchising was something that you were interested in.
Okay, so let's see. I have been doing franchising for 20 plus years now. What I can say is I didn't get into it because this was something I was looking into. I kind of was thrown into it, if I can say that, right? It's great. New experiences, if they just come your way. And I can only say that I'm so happy that I had these opportunities come by where I could make the most of it and learn from it and be where I am at right now. It so happened that back in, I would say 2000, I had just 2001, I had just given birth to my daughter, my first child, and I had been working in clinical research up until then. Before that, we had decided, both me and my husband, with my first child, I would take at least a year off just to be with her and enjoy motherhood and all that good stuff. It just so happened that after she was born, I think just within her first year, there was a open house for Dunkin' Donuts, Baskin Robbins, in Raleigh, North Carolina, and my husband and a friend of ours, the two of them went to attend the open house. You will not believe it when I say that they actually signed a franchisee deal for three Dunkin' Donuts and came home. Both of them were full time working in software, computer software. And they come home and they are like, okay, so now we just got a Dunkin' franchise. And I'm like, what is that? Like, how did that? So, the way my husband convinced me was like, oh, you'll have so much flexibility, you can be home with your daughter, with our daughter, as well as, you can do work on your own time. You don't have to worry about anything. That's how I got into that whole
And that's exactly how it went, right?
so far away from it. But I do have to say that I did have that little bit of flexibility. I was answerable to myself and, of course, to my franchisor. But also, for the most part, you are in charge of everything. It's how hard you want to work and how much you want to put in. Which, when you have your own something that you are building from ground up, you will never be shy of or doing what you need to do to get that up and running. And that's exactly what happened. We built out from like the 3 unit franchisee unit to we went to 6 stores, out of which like three were full scale Dunkin' Baskin and then three were only Dunkin' Donuts. I ran that for about 10 years. The entire time my husband was full time working. And so, it was me and the
So he did you a favor, Sonal. He bought you a franchise on a whim.
he did.
What a great guy.
I have to say, he's always told me this, and sometimes you just feel, you wonder, it's your husband telling you. He has, right from day one, he has believed in me so much.
Oh.
And he's always told me this, that Mike, I just know that you are so capable of running businesses, or you're so good at these every step of the way. He's let me do my thing, he's let me be in there. Dunkin' is a huge franchise. At the time when I got into it, they were already at 7,500 stores. It's a very big organization. There's a lot to go. It's very complex. So it was not easy. Oh, absolutely, it was not easy. I have worked crazy hours just setting the stores up and finding employees and doing the whole 9 yards. But I
Mhm.
can do say that it taught me so much. While it did teach me in the 10 years that I had it, that this particular business was not something I saw myself doing for the rest of my life.
So I like being a business owner, but I don't like this model.
I do not like this model. This is not for me. So then at the end of 10 years, when it came time to kind of, renew your lease, like every 10 years, your licenses and all, I didn't want to continue with it. So we sold off the businesses. Even while we were in the process of getting out of Dunkin', see how life pulls you, right, in different directions. But I was already, so my kids were at that age when education was a big part
Sure.
of their life for me. From day one, it's always been a big part for me. I used to take them to all these supplemental education classes. So it wasn't just about sports. For me, them getting that STEM was very, very important, STEM education. I would always go to all, we went to many different ones, Magnesium, Kumon, and I would always be like, I wish this one had this in it, and I wish this one had this in it, kind of. And I was talking to my friend in California, my best friend. She is also the reason I talk about her is she's one of the biggest reasons why I am where I am today. Where you have this friend that you talk to probably 3, 4 times a week, just spilling out whatever, right? You're talking about what's going through your head, your desire, everything. And it's just a friend talking to a friend. To have somebody who's actually also listening and trying to figure out, even unconsciously, trying to figure out how to put you in the right direction. So that's what happened. Like I was talking to her about your kid, and she goes like, so now my kids go to this. She was telling me that her kids go to this for supplemental education. They go to this JEI learning center, and she was very happy with it. And she is like, Sonal, I feel like you might want to look into that, not just as something, there were no JEI learning centers in North Carolina. She was like, why don't you look into that? You're so much. And I was a big proponent of education. I still am. So I did. I looked into JEI Learning Center. I looked into their workbooks, and I actually really liked their program. Loved their workbooks, right? Something very close to what I was looking for my kids at that point in time. What I did, I contacted them in New Jersey, the corporate office. Me and my husband, we drove down to New Jersey, and I told them I want to put in the first JEI Learning Center in North Carolina. And that's what I did. I opened my first JEI while we were still, in the process of going away, selling Dunkin'. I opened my first JEI Learning Center in Cary, North Carolina.
So I wish your husband was here because I'd like to be like, okay, so who thought about this decision more? You when you bought Duncan or her when she bought JL? So you bring JL to Carrie and what happens?
So I brought JEI Learning Center to Cary. I went from one location to two. This was post COVID. I opened a second location in this area for JEI. Unfortunately, with COVID, everything shut down for a good 2 years. So while the business went on online, I really didn't see the purpose of having a second location because I was doing so well with just the one location plus online classes, which is what we all learned how to do during COVID. Biggest thing that it taught us was that. I closed the second location, but I actually had that one location till January of this year is when I finally sold the business to another person or a franchisee who is just as passionate about education, because that was my big thing. Was I didn't want to see it just closing down. I wanted somebody to carry it on forward.
Let me say it correctly. It's JEI. I've never heard of this.
It is JEI Learning Center. It is a
Okay.
South Korean concept. It is
Okay.
completely workbook based supplemental education program
Okay.
for math, English, reading and writing,
Okay.
problem solving math, analyticals. They have a program called Brain Safari, which is very much analytical thinking, developing it at a very early age. I'm talking about 4 to 8 years, right?
Wow.
So
Okay.
they have an excellent program. They are really good. Again, it's just something that worked for me for the 10 years. So from 2014 to 2025 January, I had JEI Learning Center, and I enjoyed working with the kids. At a certain point, now it's time to go into the next phase. That's where it happened, where I would say right before COVID, right before COVID. Again, the same friend of mine who lives in California, she used to frequent the Woodhouse Spa.
This woman sounds like a therapist.
She is actually a amazing entrepreneur who started off her business at scratch, from home. Her own thing, quinoa, when nobody even knew how to pronounce quinoa. She got into that and some spices and stuff like that. And she built her company, getting quinoa from Bolivia, South America, and distributing it up here. Sold it, got bought out by Smuckers about like 8, yeah, 8, 10 years ago. And So you can imagine, right? She herself also was an entrepreneur who did her own small business and went from that to that. And I've known her since school in India.
Isn't that amazing? Like the people that we hang around, our closest friends, have such an impact on who we become.
Inspire, they inspire us so much. It's like
Yes.
every which way, if you go to see it from a woman to a woman perspective, you are up there, you're pulling other people up too. You are thinking about what other people would like to do. I mean, you know that person so well that you can kind of gauge their capabilities or their interests and kind of guide them in that direction. And
Mhm.
honestly, that's what she did for me with Woodhouse Spa, because she used to frequent the one in Walnut Creek. She was a very regular guest there. And every time we would talk, she would tell me, Sonal, I don't know why. Every time I enter that spa, I think only of you. I think how good you would be running. I can totally see you doing this. The reason why also because I'm like a big fanatic, skincare fanatic. I love learning all the new facials, any new skin treatments, anything new that's out there, right? In terms of wellness. Whenever we took vacations together, or she went for a vacation, or I did, yes, spa was a big part of our ritual, right? Or at any vacation. So, these little things,
We
right?
do our best thinking in the spa, Sonal.
You go. There you go. Absolutely. So it just so happened that she was listening when I was talking, and my kids at that stage and point had grown up and were they're that independent that you kind of start thinking what next, right? JI was great as that intermediate business where it wasn't a very big. See, Dunkin' was a monster. You
Mhm.
could get lost. I mean, it's a big franchisee. By monster, I mean that it's huge, complex. You could get lost in there. JEI was a very, very small boutique franchise, which was perfect when I wanted to spend so much time with my kids, still be with my kids while doing my business, all that stuff.
Yep.
Now, the next part was, what can I do that I truly am so passionate about or I love so much, right? And she was seeing all this. And so she kept telling me, and this went on for, I would say, at least a year, where every time we would talk, she'd be like, Sonal, you need to go. Is there a Woodhouse Spa around you? You need to go check it out. And I'd be like, I'm not interested, whatever. I went down to Charleston and it just so happened, and I did. I went to a Woodhouse Spa and I did a service there and I fell in love. That's all. You just go somewhere and you just know, oh my God, yes, I can see myself here. Yes, I can see myself here. I think I can do this, right? And that's what it was. I went there and I experienced the whole Woodhouse experience. I did all the treatments and I loved every single minute of it.
I did all the treatments in the name of research.
Totally, right? And I mean, what is there to not like about somebody pampering you? To me, I was like, oh my, to put, because I was smiling. By the time I came out, I was happy, I was smiling, all this good energy that was generated, within me. Just imagine to do something that brings that smile to people's faces, that makes them feel so happy, so relaxed, in much better place physically as well as mentally when they leave your place of business. I feel like that's for me, like now in my 50s, to me that is my like the best service while making money to give back.
Yes, exactly. So share a little bit in terms of the owner that was required, the person you had to be to run 6 Dunkins, and the person you get to be while you run Woodhouse Spa.
That person was a wholly inexperienced novice business owner going in without having absolutely zero knowledge.
I'm sure you did a great job because you don't just go from 1 to 6 if you weren't like figuring it out.
Totally, totally. No, it was like I said, I do have that persona where what you need is truly hard work. What you need is to be ready to be adaptable and changing to environment, because that's what business is about. Every day is not going to be the same. Some people love that cup of coffee and they may be very, very mad that come 5 days a week and today is the day you forgot to put in sugar when you knew. And again, you are not personally there making that coffee. You understand where people come from, and you got to, that's the kind of business, very fast paced, very quick. It's a QSR, right? So it's very quick, very fast paced, and you learn something from that. which is to be that quick, that efficient, having that flexibility, adaptability to change. And that's what you, how to deal with employees, like how to deal with people. There's all kinds, right? Kind of have to work with a diverse group of people. So
Mhm.
this is everything that business taught me. What JI did was, the next part of business owning is how to individually talk to every parent and make them feel that their child was the most important part of their, who is the most important part of their lives, was also important to me. How I could make a difference in their child's education, as well as just their overall growth. So you have to be able to talk to every single parent, because I was the one who was doing everything there. I didn't have a manager. I mean, I was the director, I was the face of the business. And that's what for 10 years that business taught me, is to connect with each person on a level where they had that confidence when they saw you that their child was in good hands. Child would definitely get something out of whatever they were doing. Now comes Woodhouse, where actually both of these, whatever I learned from both of these businesses, I'm really putting to use up here. We don't need the fast paced environment here. Nobody is in a hurry when they come to a spa. They want to take their time, but they also want to feel like they were individually recognized, that this was something that was for them. So how do we make them feel like this was one of that signature moments, or their best part of their day? If we know they're celebrating a birthday with us, which we try to ask them, or an anniversary, we do write, we have lockers for them, we write their name on the lockers, and we'll write happy birthday up there. Or when they come in, our guests will, our staff will wish them happy birthday, we just see that today is your birthday. Just make that person feel good. Everything that I learned in the previous 15 years of doing business from Duncan to JEI, I am completely and totally using here in Woodhouse Spa, as well as learning more things. Definitely honed me into the businesswoman that I am today. That, mixing both the things together.
You went from the monster, big corporate franchising, which is Dunkin', to the boutique. And then Woodhouse is probably somewhere in the middle because it's backed by Radiance Brands, correct? If you had to, moving forward, if you had to pick your ideal franchisor, do you have a feeling like, is it in the middle? Is it the small guy or is it the big guy? Do you think it doesn't matter?
I would, so knowing myself, I think I would pick up the middle. The reason being that you don't want to get lost when it is very big. You do get lost, right? There are so many franchises. When it is so, then, and then when it's really small, you don't know where the growth is. For something like Woodhouse, where it is like you can see that they are growing, they are doing so much. And it's not just that, it's like that bond between the franchisor and the franchisee is still strong, because it's not so big that the franchisor has no idea now whether it's their 55th 100th store that they have just signed up. Like, it's so big, right? It becomes a corporation. Woodhouse is, it's not a corporation yet. All the franchisees pretty much know each other, so you get that bond. And all the and the corporate knows us, so you get that bond with them too, and they're willing to listen to you. They want to grow with you, they want you to grow while they are growing, which is very important at this
Very.
stage, because
Mhm.
Woodhouse is not one of those inexpensive franchises, right? It is very expensive, so you're putting in a lot of investment. When you're investing so much, you want to see not just the ROI, you also want to see that coming from the franchisor itself too, that it's not a numbers game anymore. They want you to grow. And I would say that Woodhouse so far definitely distinguishes itself in that aspect.
I really love it.
Yeah.
You know what else I love, Sonal, is so a lot of times candidates will say, oh, if a business is so good, why is that one for sale? Or why are those owners getting out? And what's so obvious by this story is just how a business suited you at different stages of your life. Nothing wrong with the business. It's that the business is a vehicle driving your life personally, professionally, and financially. And when that ride is over, you know it and you're ready to move on to the next ride. And so I want to share that message with the listeners because it's a very important message to hear. I say it to you all the time in my process that the franchise is a vehicle. The clarity, the gas in that vehicle is the clarity of your goals and dreams. So we're not trying to fill a void in our community. We're not trying to bring the newest trendy thing to the market. We're trying to find a business that aligns with your goals. And when you've achieved those goals, sometimes you've outgrown the opportunity and you're ready for what's next. And that is what was 100% clear through this amazing journey and story that you've shared with us over the last 20 years. I mean, I love it. So I have a question for you. So you've owned 3 different types of franchises, and we've talked about the big, the small, and the middle. Are you fully sold on business ownership through franchising? Or can you ever imagine going out there like your mentor friend and just doing something completely on your own? There's no right or wrong answer. I'm not judging you.
So for me, I think I will, if I'm looking at a concept, if it is something I feel like I've generated on my own, I will always look to see if somebody has already made this into a model. Because what, in a franchise, in a franchising role, 90% of the work has already been done for you. And especially when, no, I mean, truly, I am, unless it's an idea that is, and you know what, you never know. Maybe I will find such an idea and I might want to do something with it. If you ask me right now, I like the franchising business
Me
because you
too.
know what? Somebody has already put in the effort to work out so many aspects of a business which are very, very intense and which are actually very time consuming and very, very difficult.
And don't really return you the money.
Absolutely. It is not easy to set up anything on your own from scratch. There's a lot of tears, lots of hard work is involved, which is involved even in a franchise. 90% of it is worked out. If you choose a franchise that you see what their success rate is, how good they've been doing, you're not going to just jump in blindly, anyways. You're going to do your research, right? To
Right.
know, number one, whether it is a good fit for you. If it's a good fit, if you have the passion for it, you will automatically make it work. That's also a very big part. It's not only about making money. It is very important that you have the passion for it, that you
Right.
feel like.
The money is a result of your success. People think that money equals success, and it's not true. You earn money as a result of being successful. So, what she's saying is the passion for the business and serving the customer is what makes you successful. And when you're successful, then you earn money. That was awesome.
And then with franchising, that's the other part, right? They have already, if you see it's a success, it has been a successful venture, that other check mark that you already have.
Right.
Then you get the support from your construction to the where to get your goods or your materials from to the selling aspect. Every which way they have protocols in place, they have policies in place, they guide you, they have distributions in place. There's so much of the work is already done. Why not go in there? So for me, I will look at franchising first versus anything else.
I love it. I think your story
That's
is
just
so great.
my take on it. Yeah.
Yes, well, that's why we're here. We want to hear your take on it. I think it's amazing, and I just want to like hug your husband for like buying a Dunkin' Donuts on a whim one night at a Little West conference that he he went to, and it changed the trajectory of your life. And like you said in the beginning, the reason I asked the question of how did you get into franchising is the very common question that's asked in franchising is how did franchising find you? Because not too many people wake up and say, oh, yeah, I want to own a franchise, right? Like nobody really says that. But what happens is they find themselves at a fork in the road being laid off from America, or they're just ready for a transition, or their husband goes out and buys the franchise. And then all of a sudden, voila, you're a franchisee and you got to work it out. It's such a great story. Oh my gosh, you're so inspiring. And I love your friend. I love that the person closest to you in terms of that female dynamic is like so inspiring to you. I mean, how blessed you are. All of us wish we need those people because the
Totally.
people we surround ourselves with do matter. And that is actually a part of a beneficial part of being in a franchise is that you do have this community of other business owners, like-minded people working out the same challenges, going through the same day-to-day life as you. And so you can really find your friendships and those people that you want to be influencers in your life, role models in your life from within your franchise. If you're fortunate enough to be a part of a company that has franchisees maybe that are a little bit ahead of you. Maybe they're the top
True.
performer and you aspire to be that. And so you saddle up next to them and befriend them and just sort of grow alongside of them. That's a huge benefit to franchisepreneurship that entrepreneurship out there all alone on your own little island doesn't really allow for. And you need to find those mentors sort of on your own. So this
Yes.
is just such an inspiring story. Thank you so much for sharing. I want to ask you one more question before we wrap this up. I ask all of my interviewees. So you've been doing this now for 20 years. And like you said, you didn't find it, sort of found you through your husband. And here you are 20 years later. So for that listener who may just be turning on Kim Daly TV for the first time today, and this is the first thing they're hearing about franchising, and they're thinking, wow, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? What advice do you have for that listener?
I say do it. I say if you feel like this is something that might be, that has always been there in your mind, and you want to be, it's not just about being your own boss, but just creating something and being there for yourself and making something out of it too, making money along the way. Do your research, definitely do your research fully on, and then go in, work hard, you will be successful.
I love that advice. So, for those who are ready to take her advice, well, you know that Kim Daly wants to be your franchise consultant and your daily coach. So, please follow the link in the description right now because I can't wait to meet you. So, now thank you so much for being our wonderful, amazing, and inspiring guest here today.
Thank you so much, Kim. It was really fun talking to you.
So, until next time, please don't forget that my name is Kim Daly and I want to be your daily coach.